Okay, so coming over onto your hands and knees. So we're going to introduce a few little birth or labour movements here. So I'm going to start on your hands and your knees and just moving, shifting the weight around. So moving into your right hand, your left hand, right, so left knee, and then your right knee. So just circling all the way around. Just getting used to that sensation of the weight of your body moving into these four spaces. And then coming back to stillness. And then we're going to go into one of our really common birthing moves, which is circling just the hips. You're going to make a circle with your pelvis, drawing the hips around. So again, this is something to do during the first stage of labour, which is the dilation of the cervix point of labour. And also you do it when you're having a contraction. So between contractions you rest. There's no point doing any movement while you're not having a contraction. So you would just rest your body in between contractions. So we're going to add in straw breath, which is one of our birthing breaths. So this is the breath where you breathe out through your mouth as if you have a straw in the mouth. It's a little bit like silent whistling, and what you'll see is it slows the breath down. And once the breath slows down, it has the knock-on effect of slowing down the movement and also calming the mind as well. So the breath has a direct effect on the mind. So what I'd like you to do for the next couple of breaths is just identify which way round you're going. So identify whether you're clockwise or anti-clockwise with your pelvis. And then just tuck your toes under, walk your hands all the way back. So a little stretch for the soles of your feet. It is uncomfortable. So I know when I learnt this in my pregnancy training, they called it pain training. Pain training for pregnant women, to just sit like this for a while. But I'm not going to do that today. So we're going to rise up. And then you're just going to lengthen through the sides of the body here again. So reaching up through one side, reaching up through the other side. And then circle the arms all the way around. And then bring the hands back down onto the floor. And you can untuck your toes if you like. And then you're going to go the other way. So the opposite way that you were circling. You're going to move the hips in that direction. So imagine now you're having your second contraction. And you're using your straw breath again. So breathing in naturally through the nose. And then breathing out through the lips as if you have a straw in your mouth, or as if you were whistling silently. You can also inhale using the straw technique, and this is quite useful if you're feeling hot. So this is quite cooling. Using the straw breath on the inhalation as well creates a cooling effect inside the mouth. So again, you can have an additional property over and above, helping you to maintain control of your breathing during your labour. So just take a couple more breaths using your straw breath, circling the hips around, and just recognising that this move is particularly good to to help your cervix dilate. And then from here, you're going to tuck your toes under and take the feet quite wide, and then walk the knees all the way back. And we're going to come into just an easy squatting position. So with the feet wide, just take the knees from side to side. Now if you've got a low-lying placenta, you may not want to stay here for too long. If you have any SPD, again, you may not want to stay here for too long. So if that's for either of you, then you can just come back onto your knees. So if you are okay with your squat, you're going to work it backwards and forwards. You're going to come into your squat, and then you're going to walk your hands back again. So again, just preparing your body to come into a squatting position. If you're not squatting today, you can work with cat pose. So on the out breath, roll the spine to the ceiling, round the back, and on the in breath, flatten the back and lengthen. Okay, so that's your option. So if you're okay with your squat, you can exhale, walk your hands back into your squat, and then inhale and walk the hands forward. So just noticing how easy it is to get into your squat. You may even be able to get the heels on the floor as you come back, but it's not essential. I would take your feet wider, Emily. It's quite good to have the feet at least as wide as your hips, because then it might feel a bit easier. So it's quite difficult having a squat with the feet really close together. So if you're struggling with your squat, just check how wide are your feet. Okay, so last one, last squatting position. Oh, some lovely squats here, that's good. And as I said before, squatting, the best position for delivery of your baby. So that's stage 2, when you push your baby out. So keeping the knees wide enough for your baby to fit. On the out breath, you're going to roll your spine to the ceiling, curl the tailbone under, push the spine all the way up, and then keeping the back in that rounded position. Gently bring the hips all the way back to the heels. So you want to maintain the rounding in the back. So rather than straightening the back, keep it round. You get a lovely pull in the lower back. Now as you breathe in, push your shins into the ground and rise up. So we're going to do that again, and we're going to use another of our birthing breaths, which is the B breath. So this is just humming on the out breath. So it's very calming, very soothing, and really nice for your babies as well. So they kind of like the vibrational sound of it. So breathing in. Inhaling, coming up. So just carrying on. Don't try and keep pace with everybody else. So don't worry if you're the only one humming. Notice again how much longer this B breath makes your breathing, makes your exhale. Just do 2 more. So coming back into neutral position, take the right leg back behind you, push the heel away. So we'll have our cramp stretch, always a good one to do on a Monday night. So keep pushing the heel away so that you can feel that stretch lengthening into the calf muscle. And just hold it for a couple more breaths. And then, depending on if you've got any pelvic niggles, you can just take the foot around, or if your pelvis is okay, you can circle the leg around. And you may need something under the left knee for this one, just so that your knee feels comfortable. So just going to rock forwards and backwards here. So again, you can use this during labour. It's quite a nice early stage of labour move. It opens the hips, ready for birth. And also quite useful just in a general day-to-day thing, because most pregnant women have hip pain and hip niggles. So just notice how far forwards can you get that foot. So when you take all your weight forwards, if your shin isn't completely upright, you might find that you can shimmy that foot further forwards so that you can deepen the stretch. But obviously if you've got any pelvic issues like SPD, you don't necessarily want to go too deep in this pose. Okay, and then from here, you're going to push into the right foot. And again, in the early stages, you can rise up. In the later stages of pregnancy, you might want to use that leg to push up against. And you'll know when you're progressing, when you have to use the arm to get up. Okay, so from here, we're going to inhale. We're going to take the arms all the way up over the head. And then on the exhale, we're going to bring the arms down. We're going to circle the wrists. So you're going to sort of make the backs of the hands circle around. Okay? And then we're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to breathe in, take the arms all the way up over the head. And then breathing out, lower the arms, but just circle the wrists around. So again, nice release for the wrists. So something else that pregnant women tend to struggle with, carpal tunnel. And same thing again, so we're going to do it 3 times. And then just circling that arm all the way down, and then bringing the hands back down to the floor. Take the right leg back, and then we're going to come into downward facing dog in a minute. If you don't want to do this today because your back hurts or your wrists hurt or you're just too pregnant at this point in time, then you might want to come back onto the heels and work with the back stretch instead. So I'm going to give you the choice of actually what you want to do. We're going to use a slightly different sound to come into our downward facing dog, and that's just a ah. So we're just going to sound ah. So babies love it when you sing. They can hear all of the sounds and the vibrations. They're not listening to the tune, but they can hear it on a vibrational level. So it kind of creates this connection with your baby. So you can either ah your way back onto heels, as we did before from cat pose, or you can come into down facing dog. So breathing in. And on the in-breath, bring the knees back down. We're going to do it 3 times. Okay, and so from here, taking the left leg back now, push the left heel away and just hold it for a couple of breaths. You can feel that stretch moving into the calf muscle. And then we're going to take the foot to the outside of the right hand, so either a small move or a nice big circle. You may need some padding underneath your right knee. And then again, just little hinges forwards and backwards, so just loosening the hip on this side. Noticing how it feels. And again, as you come into that deep lunge, just noticing if the knee goes further forward than the ankle, and just exploring as to whether you can maybe take that foot a little bit further forward, but not if it's going to cause any discomfort in the pelvis. So from here, we're going to rise up again. So you've got the option to use your thigh to push into, or to raise the arms out to the sides and up that way. And we're going to inhale. Take the arms all the way up, and then doing those wrist circles to bring them all the way back down. And then same again, breathing in, reaching up, wrist circles, coming down. Breathing in. And then bringing the hands all the way back down, sliding the knee back. And then we're going to take the right leg back again, second time. And now we're going to do some more labour-oriented moves. So now we're going to circle the hip in this lunge position. And if that's not comfortable for you in your pelvis, then you can just stay on all fours if that feels better for you. And we're going to use the ha breath. So we're going to breathe in through the nose, and on the exhale, so making this silent, sort of roaring sound. And now circle the other way, so circle the hips in the opposite direction. And then from here, you can slide that foot all the way back. So we're going to do a combination of the downward dog with the ah sound, and then inhaling onto the knees, and then exhaling with the sound back onto the heels. If you're not doing downward dog, then you can just do 2 lots of going back onto the heels. Okay, so breathing in first, downward dog, inhale, knees to the ground, exhale, into child pose. Make sure you've got room for your baby, so you might need to take the knees a little bit wider. I'm going to do that again. So inhale, come up, push into your shins to help you rise up. Inhale to the knees, wide enough for your baby. Last time. Take the left leg back behind you. And then again, just sliding it around or stepping it forwards. So the left foot is in front now. And then working your birthing circles here. So circling the hips around. And using that ha breath again. So notice the qualities of these different breaths that you're using. And in amongst them, you may find some breaths that you are very connected with, some breaths that really work for you, and you might find some that you would happily dispense of because there's no real connection with them. So again, it's finding a couple of breaths that you feel are really going to help you during your labour. And then if you can circle in the opposite direction, still using your ha breath. And again, you can slide the knee back and just one more time, widening the knees, using your B breath. And then slowly rising all the way up. So one of the things you might notice is when we start to use these sounded breaths, noticing how long your breath is. Can you feel the difference? When you start to introduce sound, your out breath is a lot longer. And the reason that that is useful in labour is because the out breath, particularly in stage 2, is the part of your labour where you'll be doing most of your pushing. So you get much more purchase out of a push in stage 2 if you can make your out breath longer. And using some of these techniques will be really, really useful to allow that out breath to be really long, as well as giving you this sense of control that you have over your body and over your breath. So, you know, there is a reason why you're ahhing at me in the class. Okay, I'm going to come up to standing. So you're going to tuck your toes under, walk your hands back, and then just walk the hands back as the knees lift up off the floor. You might want to stay here for a little dangle. So if you widen the legs so that your baby has a comfortable fit between your knees, and then you might want to just sway from side to side here. Or you might just want to loosen your neck. You might just want to loosen your shoulders. And then when you're ready, come up slowly by pushing your feet into the ground. And just uncurling the spine. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of pelvic floor exercises. Too much. Never get this right. That's bad. So we're going to do a little bit of a fist clenching at the same time, because it does seem to help with the pelvic floor squeezes. So you're going to take your feet slightly wider than hip width apart. Just find a nice comfortable position. We're going to do a fairly gentle squatting position. It's not going to be massive. And we're going to straighten the legs on the inhale. And as you push the feet into the ground, what you might be able to find is that that engages some of the muscles around the pelvic floor. And then we're also going to squeeze and tighten our fists to give us that feeling of pelvic floor tightening. Okay? So on the in-breath, feet push into the ground, the legs straighten, we clench the fists, and we engage the pelvic floor. And then on the out-breath, we relax, little squat, and the hands relax. Okay, so it'll make more sense as you do it more with the breath. So getting that sense of tightening and squeezing on the inhale, and then the sense of relaxation on the exhale. So again, can you feel that it's the feet pushing into the ground as well as that internalized movement of your pelvic floor that can make the pelvic floor tighten and squeeze, but we want to loosen it as well. So I've talked about this before. We want a flexible pelvic floor. So we need to be able to tighten it and relax it in equal measure. Okay, and then just one more time. Lovely. So now that we're here, I'm going to bring the hands onto your hips. We're going to do some standing birth work. I'm going to do figures of 8. So again, another different movement of the hips. So it's quite nice in pregnancy anyway to move your pelvis. Helps with your baby as well. So although we use them for birth, anytime you move your pelvis in this way, when you make big pelvic movements, it makes more space for your baby. So if your baby is trying to get head down, if they're not already there, then big pelvic movements will really help. So remember with these figures of 8 that we want the hips to be doing the movement, not the legs. So the knees really need to be quite bent, quite buoyant, so the hips can move. So it's a little bit like, do you remember when you might still do it as an adult, but do you remember when you were a kid, you might have done hula hoop? And that was all in the legs, wasn't it? You can't do hula hoop with straight legs. It's all coming from the thighs and the knees bending. It's very similar also to belly dancing. Anyone done any belly dancing? So that's the same thing. It's all coming from the legs. And it's the same when you do your figures of 8. Okay, so we're going to use that straw breath again. So breathing in and then exhaling through the lips, blowing the breath out. So even though there's no sound with this breath, you've still got that much elongated exhalation. Now, can you figure of 8 the other way? It takes a bit of a brainstorm to do that, doesn't it? So still with that straw breath, and as I mentioned earlier, you might want to do it on the inhale as well if that feels nurturing and nourishing for you. And then you can just kind of slow it down so that you gradually come back into stillness. And then when you do, you can just bring the feet all the way back together. And just notice how that feels. So again, you know, we do these movements, we do these breaths over and over again. It's almost like drilling, drilling. So that it's second nature when you come into the birth room, because you don't really want to engage intellectually when you go into labour. So birthing is a very primal brain activity. So you want to tap back into that ancestral wisdom and energy that women have. Tap into all the ancestors, all the mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers that have birthed all the way through your line, your lineage. And just sitting in that primal instinctive brain. Okay, so we've got a little balancing sequence to do now. So you're going to start, and it helps with this if you use your Ujjayi breath. This is the ocean breath. It's like Ha breath with the mouth closed. So breathing in and out through the nose, but with this slight contraction around your throat. Sounds a little bit like snoring. So on the inhalation, you're going to rise up onto your toes and float the arms all the way up. And then on the out breath, you're going to bend the knees, take the weight back into your heels so that you're in a little squatting position, and take the arms back behind you. So it's coming into an easy squat. A little bit like, is anyone watching the Olympics, Winter Olympics? It's like the ski jump, isn't it? It's incredible what they do, isn't it? And then inhaling, rising up onto your toes, arms are soft, ribs lifting. And then breathing out, bending the knees, taking the weight back into the heels. Keep the chest extending, and then reach the arms all the way back behind you. Okay, a few more times. And then just one more time, rising up onto the toes. It's a good preparation for balancing. And then coming all the way up. So, standing into your mountain pose, we call this. You're meant to be sort of firm and steady like a mountain. So the weight of the four corners of your feet. And as we always do, just checking the alignment here. So what's happening in the body? Is the pelvis over rotating? Can you bring your pelvis into a neutral position where the weight of your body is evenly balanced over the heels and the balls of your feet? There's a real tendency for everything to come forwards during pregnancy. We're going to do some leg lifting balancing. So again, if you've got any symphysis pubis disorder, then you might find that just lifting the knee up and keeping the toes on the floor is about all you want to do. So standing on one leg, especially because we're going to take it out to the side with SPD, it's probably not ideal, but see how it goes. If there's any discomfort, then just come onto the ball of the foot on that one leg instead, and you can just rotate it out from there. So that's your easier option. If you can get the leg up, but the balance is the problem, then you can maybe just touch the wall, and then we're just going to take the free arm will come up. Okay, so you can still work with your Ujjayi, your ocean breath. So we're going to start with the right leg. So the left leg's going to stay on the ground. So we're going to breathe in, take the knee up, and both arms. And on the out breath, take the knee out to the side, the arms out to the side. On the inhale, arms back up, knee back to the center. And then exhale, foot back down to the ground. And then that becomes the grounded foot. Inhale, left knee comes up. Exhale, arms wide, knee wide. Inhale, back to center. And exhale and come down. So you can do that again. So go at your own pace. So whatever your breathing rhythm is, then you follow that. And don't worry if there's a little bit of wobbling. It's quite good to practice balancing throughout your pregnancy because your center of gravity changes all the time. So every time you have a growth spurt, you have to kind of recalibrate where your center of gravity is. So when you finish next time with the left leg, you come back into stillness. So now you're going to take the right leg and you're going to cross it over the left thigh, and you're going to just come onto the ball of your foot. So the toes and the ball of your right foot are on the ground, but you're going to slightly bend the left knee so it's kind of clamping together with your right leg. The right leg is pointing forwards. So this is the balancing crane pose. So on an inhale, we take the arms over the head, we bring the palms of the hands together. And then on the out breath, you fold forwards. Now, whenever you need to stop folding forwards, continue to take the arms down towards the floor. And at the end of the pose, stretch the fingertips towards the floor, and you'll get a really nice stretch in your scapula. Now on the inhale, bend the knees a little bit more, push into the left foot, and at the same time sweep your arms out to the sides and up. So you're kind of pushing into the ground to get you to come all the way up. And then exhaling and folding. Stretch the fingers to the floor, and then to come up, bend the knee, push into the left foot, and sweep the arms all the way up. And two more times. So again, just going at your own pace. And then this time just bring the hands into the heart space. And then you can release the leg. And then take the feet wide. We're going to come into some simple squats. Again, you can make it as big or as little as you like. So again, with any pelvic dysfunction, just a little squat, nothing too big. Otherwise you can come quite low. And if you are coming low, you might need to take the feet a little bit wider. So find where your comfortable squatting position is. We're going to use the Ha breath. We're going to breathe in. Legs are straight, arms come over the head, and then exhaling. Push into the feet to rise up. Squeeze the pelvic floor muscles. And last one. And just on the exhale, hands can come into the heart space. And then just bring your feet comfortably back towards each other. And now you're going to take the left leg, wrap it across the front of your right thigh, come onto the ball of your left foot, and then slightly bend the right leg so it's pushing and locking into the back of your left knee. Balancing crane on this side. Breathe in, take the arms up. And then exhale, fold forwards. When you need to stop folding, continue to stretch the fingertips down towards the ground. And then coming up, bend the knee, push into the foot and sweep the arms out to the sides and rise up. And then same thing again. So again, you might find that your back is really loosening out now. You might feel that your shoulder blades are getting a really nice stretch. And the next time you breathe out, you can bring the hands back into your heart space. And come back into mountain pose. So now from here, have your feet hip width apart and step your right foot back. Try and have your hips lined up. And then reach the arms back behind you, interlace the fingers and squeeze the shoulder blades together as much as you can. Now you might need to soften the elbows, so you don't have to straighten them. And then as you breathe in, lift the arms up if it's comfortable. And on an out breath, draw the hips backwards. So all you're doing is drawing the hips backwards to create this folding forwards effect. So you're not taking the weight into that front leg. And then bend the front knee, and on an in-breath, push the foot into the ground to rise up. So you're using that front foot to rise up, and then breathe out. Breathe in, lift the arms. Breathe out, draw the hips back. Lift the arms a little higher. When you want to come up, bend the front knee, push into that foot, inhale, come up. And exhale, relax. One more time. A nice stretch for the shoulders, also good stretch for the hamstrings. And then release. turn the feet wide. Your back wide ways onto your mat, and then you're just going to sweep the arms up to one side, sweep them down and up to the other side. So loosening up the shoulders, lengthening through the sides of the waist. And then coming back to the centre. So now it's easy just to swivel to the other end of your mat, but you'll need to pick up your left foot so that you can plant it back on the floor so the hips are level. So you want the right foot, you've all got your left foot forwards. No, it should be right foot forwards, yeah? So right foot forwards, left foot back, unless you did it the other way around. So it should be facing the other leg. Yeah? Okay. So the hips are level, back foot comfortably touching the ground. Interlace the fingers behind your back again. Breathe in, lift the arms. And as you breathe out, draw the hips backwards. Let the arms lift. And then breathe out, bend the front knee, push into the hands and rise up. And again, breathe in. Lift the arms, and as you breathe out, draw the hips back. Bend the front knee, inhale, push up, and exhale, relax, and then one more time. Turn the feet back to the centre, and then last time just sweeping the arms up to one side, sweeping the arms up to the other side. And then from here, just coming back to stillness. And just draw the toes in, draw the heels in, until you come back into stillness. So from here, you're going to curl back down. So bend the knees, curl forwards, and then you can walk your hands forwards until the knees comfortably come down to the ground. And then come and sit onto your mat. So we're just going to finish with a little breath meditation practice, and then we'll lie down. So making sure that you're comfortable. So you don't want to be sitting against the wall for this, because your hands are going to be moving behind your head. So we're going to be doing this. So if you have yourself right up against the wall, you're not going to get the arms all the way back, but we're not going to be here for very long. So this is a practice called Tibetan Bhramari, and Bhramari is the bee breath. That's the yogic name, the Sanskrit name for the bee breath that we do, that we've been doing, the humming breath. And this is called Tibetan Bhramari. So this is a kind of a meditative practice. It's very good for quietening the mind and sort of shutting off all the internal chatter that we all have, that all goes on inside the head. So we just breathe out for the buzzing sound, the humming sound, and then we breathe in normally. But what we're going to do is do some with our hands as well. So I'll show you first. So the inhalation, we just take the arms to about here, and then on the out breath, just at the beginning of the out breath, we bring the hands onto the ears, and then we close our ears off. So for just that first bit of the bee breath, the ears are open, and then for the rest of it, we kind of cup the hands over the ears, and you get this lovely kind of wow sound as you do that. So it looks like this. Okay, so we're just going to do that a few times. So as I said, it's a really calming practice. So when you're ready, breathing in. And just do one more round, so make this the last round. And just notice the effect. And then from this point, just coming and lying down onto your mat. So we'll be here for about 15 minutes. So make sure that you are comfortable. You can lie on your back if you are less than 20 weeks into your pregnancy, or lying on your side. And if lying down just feels too uncomfortable, then sit up against the wall and allow yourself to be supported there.